Mark Rogers TV on the NFL draft. One round completed. Obviously, at the top of the rung was the Los Angeles Rams selecting Cal quarterback Jared Goff. So, the pros and the cons on Mr. Goff. He played 3 years at Cal. He left after his junior season. Let's look at the situation surrounding Cal Berkeley when Jared Goff arrived there. This football program was in shambles. It was the worst football program in the country. First season under Sonny Dykes, despite the presence of Goff, who would, of course, turn out to be the best quarterback in the country. 1 win, 11 losses. They defeated an FCS school. They went 1-11. He played behind one of the worst offensive lines in the country. He got beat up. He played as a freshman. He threw the ball over 500 times, 18 touchdowns, 10 interceptions in one of the best conferences in college football. Beyond the lack of ability around him and the lack of offensive line play in front of him and no running game to support him, it was also a dysfunctional football team. Sonny Dykes came in from Louisiana Tech and cleaned house, got rid of a lot of bad attitudes, dysfunctional people, got rid of the dead weight in that football program, but it got worse before it got better. So Jared Goff not only went to a bad football team, he went into the midst of a bad football situation at Cal. Okay, over the next 2 seasons, the TD to interception ratio went from 18-10 as a freshman to 35-7. And then as a senior, 43-13. The one bad loss and bad performance out of Jared Goff this past season was the game at Utah, facing a defensive front that's one of the best in the Pac-12. Definitely the front seven as well, but specifically that defensive front four for Utah really harassed him, made him look bad. He threw 5 interceptions. Cal got behind Jared Goff in trying to bring them back through some ill-advised passes through the 5 interceptions. And despite that, had the football, drove the football late in the game to try to take the lead. So they were still in the game despite Goff's miscues against Utah. That was the worst game that he played last season. Otherwise, this is what he's shown us at Cal. In addition to what I just chronicled in regards to overcoming adversity, both physical around him and situational, the presence in the pocket, he's obviously studied the game, but some of that can't be taught. It's innate. He understands the clock running in the back of his mind while he's standing in the pocket. He's got tremendous pocket presence. His fundamentals are excellent. That comes from practice. His footwork, exceptional fundamentals, arm release, quick release, one of the quicker releases we've seen entering the NFL in quite some time. The knocks on him, the lack of size. Just a few years ago, the Andrew Luck RG3 comparison, of course, Robert Griffin III, a bit frail, a bit thin for a football player, and it has hurt him physically and hurt his career. We will see if he can recover, but after a stellar rookie season, he hasn't been able to stay on the field. So Jared Goff, there being some concern there. Not a big arm. He can make all the NFL throws. I don't think there's a lack or a concern of arm strength, but he doesn't have a rocket. Dan Marino, John Elway, Andrew Luck type of arm. Okay, I heard it stated on Twitter a number of times that Jared Goff needed to go to the Los Angeles Rams, that the Rams had to make a big splash in the NFL draft because they're almost like an expansion team coming back to LA, and it's Hollywood, and you've got to sell tickets, and you've got to make a big splash. I think that's garbage. Okay, this is the NFL. This is not the NHL. This is not even Major League Baseball these days. People will come to the games, first of all, because you've got a football team for the first time in 20-plus years. Secondly, because it's the NFL. And if you win games, they will come. If you draft bad players and produce a bad football team, it doesn't matter if you make the big splash with a Jameis Winston or a Johnny Manziel, Tim Tebow, a big name from college. Yeah, you'll sell out the merchandise in the offseason. And then when you go 0-3, 1-5, and that particular player turns out to be a bad selection, and you've got a bad team, nobody cares. Nobody cares anywhere among NFL fan bases where those players came from. They don't care in Green Bay that Aaron Rodgers came from Cal. They don't need a Wisconsin quarterback. I know that's just one example, and we could go to Jacksonville and Houston and some lesser known and lesser profile franchises to make that point. But I think the Cincinnati Bengals, who have been about as cheap and had a lack of stars on that team with that franchise for a number of years, have proven that over the last few years. With a good football team, especially during regular season play, the people come out, they support it. Draft the players that will win the games. You will eventually succeed at the gate. Okay, to compare Goff versus Jameis Winston in particular, because that's a number one versus a number one. Jameis Winston showed us this past season, despite being on a pretty bad football team, that he should succeed in this league if he stays out of trouble, and he was able to do that in 2015. Do I believe that Goff is as good as Winston? No, he is not. I think he will be a capable NFL quarterback, and put in the right situation, could win playoff games and possibly a Super Bowl. Will he be a franchise quarterback that carries a team to a Super Bowl? I don't believe so. My take on Jared Goff. Would love to hear from you now on Mark Rogers TV.